Waheguru Ji Ka Khalsa, Waheguru Ji Ki Fateh. Sangat Ji, just want to put a couple disclosures out. First off, what I'm about to share is my very personal experience, and if it doesn't resonate with you, that's okay. It's not meant to offend if you're doing any of these practices currently, but just to invite you to reflect and just see, and learn from my own experiences with yours. There's no conversion or attempting to try to change your mind or anything like that. If you're happy with your practices or the way that you're experiencing your path of spirituality, that's beautiful. And lastly, please forgive me for any mistakes that I make today. I'm going to do my best to read the Gurbani and share it with you in an authentic way. So thank you so much. So where would one even begin to discuss traversing through the illusion of Maya in a single lifetime, trying to find a lifeline to the absolute supreme divine? Who is he that would understand the game of love and be merciful enough to extend his hand? How can we find a true teacher in a world filled with false light? So many lies, broken promises, wasted time, dead ends, detours, heart contusions, mental confusion, doubts, fears, anxieties, worries, stories, countless stories playing out simultaneously to attract, distract, and burden the back of the true seeker. Sangat Ji, today I'll be taking you on an incredible journey, a very personal journey on how I was guided through a maze of mirrors, reflecting false light that was blinding my sight, to eventually have my eyes opened and make it to the proverbial seashore, just so I could catch a glimpse of the infinite waves of Maya and Bhav Sagar, the ocean of illusion. Watching the waves crashing on the shore revealed the entrance to the true path of spirituality for me, as I was invited to attempt to cross to the other side towards emancipation amidst the dark, stormy weather, the daunting waves, and the ever-shifting winds. And so suddenly, I found myself lost at sea, unprotected, wading in the dangerous open waters. I bobbed up and down as a small speck amongst the massive rolling waves. The cracking of lightning striking, thunder booming high above lit the scene, if only for a moment, so I could catch a glimpse of the torrential rain falling down from the broken sky, each drop hitting my panic-stricken face as I looked around in an attempt to catch my bearings. I've never been a strong swimmer, and I struggled to keep my head above water. Surely I would die from exhaustion, and my lifeless body would sink into the bottomless abyss below if I was left out here much longer. By the grace of God, and only by great good fortune, there was a man in a small wooden boat nearby. He calmly rowed towards me in perfect poise amidst the chaos of the raging night. As his small boat came adjacent to where I was, he stepped to the portside bow, and in one hand he had a lantern, and with the other he extended his hand towards me to pull me out. I grabbed his hand, and a few years back, before any of this happened, I was searching for the truth. I looked at my life like eat, drink, work, party, travel, sleep, repeat. That's it. This really can't be it. Something felt like it was missing. I was like, what is going on here? Started asking those questions, like, what is humanity doing? What am I doing? How can I heal myself? How can I live my dream life? What's the purpose of life? What is enlightenment? How do we become enlightened? What is this thing we call life? What is the truth? So the divine said, oh, you want to know the truth? Like the truth? Okay, come here. I'm going to show you something. So the divine took me on this crazy journey through the jungle of Maya with no map and no guide. Just dropped me in the middle of the Amazon, literally and figuratively, and said, find your way out. Let's see how bad you want it. How bad do you want to know the truth? Right? So in less than 5 years, I ended up traveling to over 30 countries, work with many so-called masters, study multiple lineages, cross paths with the occult and secret societies, sat with the indigenous, work with the plants, learned hundreds of yogic techniques, kriyas, mantras, breathwork patterns, performed many austerities, read countless books, accrued a wealth of knowledge, even tried to hack my own consciousness. and had many beautiful and very strange experiences at the same time. I invested in excess of $250,000 into this pursuit, and every waking second was dedicated to this ascension process. It became an obsession to fully heal myself, transcend, and know what I thought was the truth. And along the way, I took the best of the best and left the rest of the rest. This was just solely based on what resonated with me at the time, what felt good, and what was the most exciting at the time. It wasn't based on holy scriptures or the true teachings of the spiritual masters. And by this time, Flowing River, I don't even really identify with that old version myself anymore, so I'm going to speak in the third person, but Flowing River had become something of a myth. He had built this reputation within select inner circles, and people started talking about him as if he was this like legendary creature. They would say he's this amazing poet, musician, dancer, artist, divine channel, teacher, brother, etc., etc. And this came with endless praise. That praise turned out to be a massive spiritual ego that made him think that he understood how the universe works, and therefore it was only natural that one would create his own Ascension Academy to help others reach this same state of enlightenment. So I took all these bits and pieces of teachings from all over the world, from my travels, from my studies, from multiple lineages and spiritual masters, and compiled it into my own interpretation. Transcend your pain to embody your bliss became the tagline. An online school was set up, and I began marketing by sharing the philosophy and teachings of the program. It felt like this was my purpose, to bring these codes into the world and help others transcend their limiting belief systems so they could find health and happiness, while, of course, I would make a ton of money doing it so I could live my dream life. Sounded great. But first, a little history into the lead up of what happened next for some additional context. Now, this was over the span of 2 years leading up to the launch of the Ascension Academy. And my soul was taken on a few side quests. These are some of the highlights. So side quest 1, I was invited to a gathering of the who's who of up-and-coming spiritual life coaches at the time to the Circle of Trees. It was this wizard's castle in the woods of California that was purchased by rich crypto babies. It's a famous property, so I'm not going to name any names. And I didn't know it at the time, but they were practitioners of the dark arts masquerading as the light. I would find that out later the hard way. Anyways, while there, they had inherited the absolute most impressive library of consciousness from the previous owner of the property. And I've never come across anything quite like it in my life. It was staggering, the wealth of knowledge that was standing 2 stories tall with books on every corner, on everyone and everything related to religion, spirituality, the cult, science, and consciousness. The vast majority were secret books, hidden or obscure knowledge, not readily available to the public. And I got lost in that library, just pulling books left and right, just reading at the time as much as I could. And out of these hundreds of thousands of books, there was one that stood out from the rest of me. I took a picture of it, and later I hunted it down on the internet to purchase it. It was called The Path of the Masters. And I remember buying that book and reading all the way up to the final chapter, because right before the final chapter it told me to pray to meet a living master. And so I prayed on and off from time to time for about 2 years to meet a living master, and I didn't read the final chapter. Side quest 2. I was in an Ifa foundation on the East Coast. Ifa is an 8,000-year-old tradition from Africa that has many gods and many rituals. In addition to having a live pigeon brushed over my body and a variety of other rituals performed, I sat with the high priestess and she threw shells for me. It is similar to Chinese I Ching in that combinations relate to various teachings. These shells have lines painted on them in either vertical or horizontal fashion. That's 24 shells in total and 479,001,600 possible combinations when she throws the shells. She throws them twice to get a reading. The first time she threw them, both were straight lines. Everything was absolutely vertical. Only a 1 in 479,106,000 chance of that happening, right? On the second throw, they were both straight lines again. Everything was vertical. That's a 1 in 2.29442753 to the 17th power chance. That means it's followed by 17 zeros. Very small chance of that happening. And she told me that this meant that I would receive the highest teachings and not to tell the other participants. And at the time, I had no idea what that meant. And honestly, I didn't put much stock into it. I'd been in the world of spirituality for a little while and come across many characters like this. So anyways, side quest 3, another character. I was referred to an oracle from a friend who described himself as your friendly neighborhood wizard. He described the oracle as a supercomputer on a floppy disk because he was this obscure character that nobody knew, and you could only connect with him if you were on this inner circle. And he charged $60 to have a session with him, so I paid $60. On my second session, this oracle told me that I would have an abundance of energy to create these 8 creative projects in this coming year, and that I would meet a spiritual master. Lo and behold, later that year, in the span of 4 months, I seemingly had endless energy where I just worked nonstop. I published 3 books, a music album, built retreat experiences, made 2 card games, an art book, designed custom jewelry, and of course created the Ascension Academy. And shortly thereafter, his other prediction would come true as well. The last side quest, only 2 or 3 months before I met him, I was in North Dakota, near the border between the US and Canada. It was a white winter wonderland with fresh snow covering the natural beauty. And I was sitting with one of the most impressive beings I've had the pleasure of meeting up until that point in the journey, and we were working with the plants in a very deep and sacred way. In the middle of the circle in the ceremony, he tells me he sees a Sufi master by my side sitting with me. He thinks it's a Sufi master. And I didn't really work with Sufis other than reading Rumi's poetry like most of us, so I didn't think much of it yet again. Now back to my marketing plan on social media for the Ascension Academy. How was that going? I was sharing the wealth of knowledge I had accumulated from all these wild experiences and distilled it down into these concise downloads I was apparently channeling from beyond, aka my own spiritual ego. I was ready to share everything I knew with the world and show others how to transcend their pain to experience bliss. And you have to be aware, this is how powerful the ego and Maya is. They will literally turn a sinner into a preacher that is still infested by the 5 thieves, because that false light only aims to serve Maya and not the divine. And trust me, at this point in the path, I was absolutely infested from toes to my head in Maya. Yet, I started sharing. And when I started sharing, it starts to go viral. Hundreds of likes and shares in a day. And people start flocking to my account. In less than a week, I was maxed out of my 5,000 friend limit on Facebook. People were praising the teachings, reaching out to me and wanting to connect. Randomly, out of those hundreds upon hundreds of notifications, I saw a name, Bahadur Singh. For some reason, I clicked on his name as he had liked my Facebook post, apparently randomly. I went to his page and didn't think much of it. Okay, a guy with a turban. You know, he didn't look super in shape from the photos, not wearing any super fancy clothes, kind of just normal looking. I wouldn't think much of him if I saw him on the street. And, you know, I might not even notice him. And, you know, his quotes were spiritual, but it wasn't anything that made me go, wow, that's mind blowing. You know, he didn't have anything that I could see that I wanted. So I didn't think much of it, and I just left his page. A few days later, his profile came up on my feed again through the algorithm. And for some reason, I was compelled to click and look at his profile again. You have to understand, at this point, for me to do that was very strange, because I was the healer. I was the teacher. I was the one you're coming to because I had the answers. I didn't go to your page and message you. You came to my page and messaged me. But as I was on his profile this time, for some strange reason, I felt compelled to message him. So I sent him a message. I looked back at the message, and all I said was, hello. You know, I didn't know what to say, to be honest, because I don't normally message people. And almost immediately, he invited me to have a call. And I never have calls with strangers on the internet that weren't interested in buying something from me. That's just strange to me. But despite that fact, we ended up getting on a call shortly thereafter. And I remember that first call. It was nice. It was pleasant. But again, nothing crazy. What he shared with me resonated, but not in the way that I was going goo goo gaga over it. However, it was just enough for me to want to explore more. And so I did. We had another call, then another, and another. After just a handful of calls, it became very clear that this being knew much more than I knew. I didn't know how much more, but I knew that he knew a lot more, and I felt compelled to explore his perspective. It wasn't as if he said, I know this, and I know that, and I know this, and this, and all these highbrow esoteric spiritual concepts, 5D, 12D, 11D, and I was chasing after that knowledge that he was talking about. No, it was in the way that he carried himself, his presence, and how he exuded some unspoken force. And so the force of the wind was whipping the torrent of rain to beat across my face in the middle of this ocean. And this ocean was wearing me out, beckoning me to quit, to be swallowed alive. I was nearing exhaustion as an outstretched hand reached towards me, and I took his hand in mine, and he pulled me out of the infinite waves of the sea and onto his small wooden boat. I was shivering from the wet cold that clung to my body, and the lantern illuminated him in a golden light as he maintained his poise and returned to his position to commandeer the boat. And I awakened from that vision, not really knowing who that man truly was, but something had shifted inside of me in that moment. And I decided to take the opportunity that was being presented to me. I decided that the $30,000 I just invested in the 4 months that it took to create the Ascension Academy was an absolute complete waste. It was a monument built to placate the spiritual ego I had made for myself over the past 5 years. I compiled everything into a giant mountain of trash, lit a match, threw it, and walked away from that flaming pile of rubbish. In its destruction, I turned my back to it all. I gave up my VIP pass to the Spiritual Cool Kids Club and unfriended all 4,999 friends on Facebook, except for one. I'm sure you can guess who. I immediately asked him if I could become his student. He told me he doesn't have an Ascension Academy, no followers or students in that sort of capacity, but that I could come to the Sunday discourses where he was offering these 30-minute teachings based on the authentic spiritual masters of the East weekly, the same one that you are listening to right now. And the more I listened to the teachings, the more they began to sink in. And the more I practiced the teachings, the more I began to transform. And the more I spoke with Baji, the more clear the path became. And as Baji shared more about his spiritual master, Babaji, I ended up getting really curious. So I started doing my own research. I went on Google, came across some photos and videos of him, and I had this mind-blowing epiphany. And it clicked that the man in the boat whose hand I had grabbed was Babaji himself. The boat was the Shabd, the mantra. The storm was the mind. The ocean was Bhavsagar, Maya. The light was the divine, and Babaji's hand was the opportunity, a chance of a lifetime. I was being pulled out of Maya. And then something amazing happened. Because spending more time with Baji over the internet, we got to know one another better, and this beautiful relationship began to form, a deep love and respect for each other's journeys. And even though Baji is humble, so humble, enough to present himself as a fellow spiritual traveler, in my mind it had always been clear who was the teacher and who was the student. And I would share where I was getting stuck, and Baji would be there with his sage advice from the Holy Scriptures or spiritual masters to help guide me out. And I had realized that in 5 months working with Baji, I had eclipsed the past 5 years of spiritual evolution through my own efforts, whereby I was regularly spending upwards of 8 hours a day on the ascension process. It was a wild time. Anyways, seeing tangible results, I was eager to take the next step and beckoned for Baji to come visit us in Santa Barbara to share his wisdom that his master Babaji had imparted upon him. And so one retreat led into traveling with Baji to Tunisia, then to England to meet his family. Then he came over for a second retreat, then a third to Santa Barbara. And I've been able to meet others in the Sangat of Divine Light that may be on this call right now from around the world. And our families have become close. We play together with the kids. We pray for each other in tough times. We've shared many beautiful moments, sipping tea, enjoying life, and working together to help others realize the true path of spirituality. Honestly, I could not have dreamed it up better myself, and I often wonder how lucky I am to have found a true teacher, for the divine to be so merciful towards me. And to this day, I still do not understand why or how it happened, but I am eternally grateful that it has. And along the way to finding Baji, I had come across countless false teachers, fake gurus, and confused people with incomplete understandings. And so I'm going to share a few examples of what I've experienced myself so you can better equip yourself when exploring the wild, wild west of spirituality in the world today. So let's start with confused people with incomplete understandings. And you'll see these spiritual shops and life coaches everywhere. A lot of times these people interpret the teachings incorrectly because they have not reached the mountaintop themselves. In fact, they may not have even started the path, but instead got a certificate from some institution selling dreams and decided that they are now qualified to teach. This is dangerous, as incomplete teachings means that they will have to bridge truth with fill in the blank gaps by making things up. Understand that there are infinite ways through the infinite maze, but there are only a handful of established lineages in this world right now. A lineage is a line of teachings from master, disciple, master, disciple, master, disciple for generations all the way back to the divine. A lineage is a line directly to the divine. So if you aren't connected to an authentic lineage, then results may vary. Buyer beware. And of course, not all of them are nefarious actors. Many of them may be well-intentioned or even help you in some way, but ignorance is not bliss, and they cannot lead you to your soul's ultimate fulfillment. They can only take you up to the level of consciousness that they themselves have obtained on the path. So if they haven't reached the top of the mountain, you're either going to find yourself stuck, going down a detour, or worse yet, falling back down to the bottom. Right. And next up, we have the false teachers and fake gurus. And I've had my fair share of run-ins with these types. As previously stated, I had parted ways with about $250,000 of my hard-earned dollars in less than 5 years. All that money has to go to somebody's bank account, and I assure you it wasn't mine. From snake oil salesmen selling blessed water, healing wands, activated crystals, to new age spiritual drug dealers offering you enlightenment if you drink their Kool-Aid, to the false light teachers that aim to enslave you and separate you from God, and everything all in between. It was a wild journey. And honestly, that's just the tip of the iceberg. It's wild out there in the jungle of Maya, and this is just a micro fraction of what I've experienced along the way. Because I've seen a lot of hustlers selling spirituality to unsuspecting buyers, vulnerable hearts, hopeful seekers. I've seen a lot of people get taken advantage of. I've seen a lot of people trapped and not know how to get out of these organizations or cults. In the news, it's worse. You hear of women and children being abused physically and sexually. It's sad. It's disgusting. And quite frankly, it's quite evil. These kindred spirits are sold on lofty claims. Heal yourself, acquire hidden knowledge, and ascend to the next level of enlightenment. At least that's according to the marketing materials on the promotional websites of the latest and greatest wave of enlightened teachers on the internet. And unfortunately, there's a lot of them. A whole lot of them. There's so many enlightened beings on the internet that you would think that reaching enlightenment is easy. But anyone that attempts to walk this path will be the first to tell you that this path is anything but easy. You have to be alert to the enticements of Maya. You must become self-aware of your own desires and weak points. These fake gurus are targeting you without you even knowing it. They will all smile with their hand out, trying to get into your pocketbook. But those same smiles will turn their backs the moments you can't afford their services or contribute to their cults. There are 5 primary desires that drive humans to embark on the path of spiritual awakening. Understand this. Manifesting your dream life, attracting abundance, finding your true love, tapping into your superpowers, healing yourself, and healing the world. All are associated with perceivably bettering one's life. There's absolutely nothing wrong with that. We all have to start somewhere. But be aware that such desires open you up to be manipulated by those that wish to use your motivation for their personal gain. For the true spiritualist, there's only one desire, and that is to merge into the divine. However, for most of us, we have these hopes, these dreams we wish to accomplish here during this lifetime. We tell our deepest secrets and desires to those trusted figures that we deem our teachers in our lives. However, in getting connected to the wrong teacher, we're opening ourselves up for deep-seated manipulation, for those that wish to take advantage of our weaknesses for their own benefit. And the core concepts are manifestation of what you want, making more money, finding your soulmate, accessing spiritual powers, and healing yourself associated with some larger mission. I too fell victim to this charade myself a few years back. I remember, probably multiple times actually, but one time I remember I got fleeced of about $15,000 to go to 2 retreats with a couple that was in this divine twin flame union. And one was a yogi. He had apparently 25 years of experience and could teach you how to heal yourself and access your superpowers. And the other was a multimillionaire that could help you manifest your dream life and make a ton of money. Together, you would learn how to activate your quantum healing powers and become a healer and make tons of money doing it, living your dream life. I mean, sounds pretty good, right? Like they basically hit all the top 5 desires in one pitch. And on social media, they were jet-setting travelers that were well-dressed, and they acted as if they were royalty. They presented themselves as powerful, charismatic, healthy, beautiful, intelligent, graceful, and successful. They had books, thousands of followers, and beautiful, high-quality marketing materials. It was an image of a lifestyle that most people would die for. What could go wrong, right? So the first 10-day retreat I attended, there was about 30 of us. We were zipped off to a beautiful boutique hotel in a foreign land, surrounded with lush jungle and an incredible mountaintop view that included the big blue ocean. It was amazing. Nobody really knew what to expect, but everyone was excited. Everything is new and, everyone buys in. And things got interesting pretty quickly as we started off with some complex kriyas to activate a new way of interpreting the chakra system and enter the flow state that they apparently downloaded themselves from their connection to the higher spiritual forces, because they were channeling spirits from other dimensions, speaking in light language, talking about alien races, galactic federations, and a variety of other new age teachings. And we were doing all these intense kriyas that were leading to these profound physical experiences, which many took as spiritual experiences, as the majority of attendees were not yogis by any means. And now, none of this was in the actual marketing materials, but at the time, it's hard to deny the power of the moment because you've invested so much into the experience with your mind, your body, your soul, and your pocketbook. Plus, the food was good, like really, really good. So you're attached to having this positive outcome because nobody likes to waste time and money. Plus, a social proof from all the other attendees saying the same thing. So you don't want to ostracize yourself by saying you don't believe any of this crap. And so you're convinced these teachings are the best teachings you've ever received in your life. Except that they're not. They're not the best teachings because they tell you, oh, they have other secrets that they can't talk about unless you pay more to join them on their next retreat. So when you pay more, that's when you'll get the best teachings. See, up front is just the $9,000 appetizer. But when you pay another $6,000, that's when you get the really good teachings. Unfortunately, I fell for it. To my soul's credit, I was on the fence at the time. But after some convincing calls with the teachers and them saying they see me there and they would be really good for me to go and they want to bring me deeper into the teachings in the community, etc., I went for it. So I went to the second retreat, which was now almost double the cost, as it was $6,000 for 5 days instead of 10 days for $9,000. There they taught us how to become mini versions of them, as we learned how to charge people $500 for a healing session and 8 different healing modalities that they charge people absurd amounts of money for. And once again, at the end of the retreat, they had already scheduled a third retreat. and this one was now $15,000 and had even bigger claims and included plant medicine. And they ended up telling me this crazy story about finding the tree of life in Peru and going through these intense spiritual initiations and how they were led to share this medicine with the world. It was a super special tree and there was only 3 in the world and they were one of the few people who knew where it was. And you start to see how they try to hook you in to the next step of their sales funnel. And so I started seeing this pattern where they really only wanted to talk to me if I was paying them. And the last straw for me was when the male teacher claimed to be the reincarnation of an alien spaceship commander from the Galactic Federation. So that kind of stopped me from dropping another $50,000 for the next retreat. And for some reason, the retreats just kept getting more expensive. I don't know why. I don't know how, but I don't even know what the fourth retreat would have cost, but I'm not going to guess. And I left that experience feeling like this 12D stuff just really isn't for me, you know? However, others at the retreat had dropped in excess of $90,000 with them. And one woman there reportedly paid $1 million to be trained by them for the entire year, which is crazy to think about. Luckily, I didn't feel like they tried to manipulate me beyond treating our relationship as a business transaction. You know, no harm, no foul, right? However, I left having wasted time, energy, and a substantial amount of money on an experience that led my soul to a dead end. I was forced to turn around and try to find another way up the mountain. And actually, just this year, this same group I'm talking about has now been exposed for scamming hundreds of investors out of millions of dollars as they pretended to create this philanthropic-based organization. But they ended up taking all the investment money and spent it on themselves in lavish vacations around the world. Who would have thunk it? Anyways, I was lucky to get out unscathed, but others are not so lucky. And by the grace of the divine, the teachings of the true spiritual masters, and by SIFG, they prepared me for my most recent encounter with fake gurus. And some of you may know that I have a marketing company. And so I was hired by a spiritual organization to run their social media marketing. And they absolutely loved me, right? Because I do great work. And so soon they promoted me to chief of their operations. And they told me they manifested me into their lives through prayer. And then the next day, their spiritual master in the ethers directed them to hire me so that we could help fulfill their destiny and their sacred mission on earth. And I was like, as long as you aren't late on paying my invoices, you could have whatever bedtime story you want, right? And that was just the introduction because they wanted me to come to their multi-million-dollar retreat center. So I was like, okay, it's not really my cup of tea, but you know, they're paying me, so why not, you know? I thought I was done with this 12D stuff before, but here we go again. And when I get there, it's basically the previous group I described, but on steroids. They had blended all the spiritual teachings into their own teachings. They claimed they were the head of not one, but multiple lineages. They claimed they were enlightened beings. They claimed they had no karma. They had their followers brainwashed and on payroll helping reinforce their claims. They claimed association with top spiritual leaders of the world. They claimed access to secret technology that nobody else had. They claimed to have knowledge of ancient elixirs that promise you enlightenment that nobody else had. They claimed no one else on earth could do what they could do. They were the only ones. They were consistently dressed in all white and gold clothing all the time. There was this air of elitism, exclusivity, and intense hierarchy set up within their organization. They were the masters and you were the ignorant student. They were always right and you were always wrong. This much was very clear from working with them. And their center was decked out with extremely expensive crystals that cost tens of thousands of dollars, 24-karat gold statues, intricate hand-carved Buddhas, and all types of spiritual folklore from around the world. On the outside, it looked magnificent and beautiful. And they had no qualms about displaying their wealth or the perception of their wealth. And they would tell me point blank to my face, "We are masters. I don't think. I have transcended past that stage. We are the most prominent healers of ascension in the world." They would tell me these wild, outlandish claims, and they would try to figure out what I wanted and then dangle those 5 desires in front of my face. They said they wanted to pay me a large 6-figure salary and have me move onto their property. They would give me a luxury car and everything would be taken care of me. And this is all while I'm there on their property for about 2 weeks. And so I'm going to leave now, right? Because my flight's coming up. And at one point, I'm in their temple. It's a massive temple. And they try to command me to stay at their center. They looked at me straight in the eyes and they said, "You will stay." And then their followers would reinforce this the next following days, like, "When you move here, oh, you should stay, come back," things like that. Guess what? I did not stay. Instead, I stayed with the Shabd. I stayed with the mantra. This is critical to understand. The mantra protected me from these powerful influences of manipulation and temptation. If you do not shield yourself with the mantra, you will fall victim to Maya. And at this point in the path for me, the red flags were apparent. But if I didn't have Baji, who knows? I may have fallen prey yet again. And while I didn't participate in their organization from a spiritual standpoint, I did stay connected professionally, and I was able to witness how others fell victim and became trapped physically, emotionally, mentally, and spiritually due to these extreme forms of manipulation and control. It was so bad for some people. It was so bad that some people would routinely have mental or emotional breakdowns. They were kept bickering amongst each other while the leaders played good cop. The age-old adage of divide and conquer was at play before my very eyes. They would burden their followers with financial loans that they were forced to pay back through slave labor for the organization. One of the top followers had a mental breakdown and was found naked in the streets and sent to a mental hospital. They tried to sweep this episode under the rug. Another one of their top followers confided in me saying, "I feel trapped, and they barely pay me enough to survive." Multiples others were not allowed to travel freely where they desired. And so I recently severed ties with this organization, and just this past month, they've been exposed and accused of being a cult. The stories that came from the victims of this organization are horrifying, including a woman that had cancer and was sold a 15,000 bottle of water that was supposed to heal her cancer. This woman had apparently entrusted over $500,000 to these fake gurus, and she is now deceased. Clearly, the blessed bottle of miracle water did not work. Another story emerged of how they would try to manipulate people while they were in vulnerable states of psychedelic experiences, and how they would not tell the participants of their ceremonies that they were taking DMT. DMT is a psychedelic compound that is commonly associated with these spiritual experiences. So they were putting DMT, and who knows what else they put into their elixirs. And I actually asked them directly, like, what the ingredients were, and they wouldn't tell me. And they tried to get me to come to their $5,000 ceremonies. They invited me multiple times, even offered for me to go for free at once, and I always respectfully just said, "No thank you, good sir." Guruji reminds us not to use mind-altering substances for a reason, because he's protecting us from these forces of Maya. And if anyone offers you to drink the Kool-Aid, just say no. Okay, kids? No Kool-Aid. Stay with the shot. Additionally, it was also revealed that they believed themselves to be the reincarnation of Jesus and Mother Mary. They called themselves the Divine Father and Divine Mother. Understand that no one can claim to be a saint unless you are a saint, and a true saint would never claim to be a saint. So, it was really interesting to say the least. And they were selling these $200 bottles of blessed water, $3,000 trinkets that apparently protect you. A lot of hoopla in this store that they had, and they never spoke of the true path. They were always trying to connect you to themselves or their teachings in some way. They never wanted you to leave their community and always tried to maintain influence over you through themselves or their followers. And they would try to silence anyone who spoke out against them with lawsuits. The most disheartening part of all of this is that people that have overcommitted to these types of organizations with their time, money, and energy, they are trapped. Even though their souls cry out to leave, their minds won't let them, because the leaders know how to manipulate their desires and emotions, and it becomes extremely difficult for them to leave when these heartstrings are being pulled. They believe the teachings, the mystical experiences, and that their teachers are telling them the truth, and cannot see through the veil of lies that keep them under the control of these fake gurus. One of the worst things that you can do karmically is pull someone away from the divine. One of the best things you can do is help connect someone to the divine, and understand that there is a special kind of hell that awaits these type of fake gurus that take advantage of the hearts of others so shamelessly. And I'm not sharing this for anyone to fall into judgment, but to bring awareness as to what can happen on the path. The true spiritualist has to be alert and use these as warnings to better understand the common behavior patterns of false teachers so you can protect yourself. In retrospect, I myself was going down this path, and I myself could have turned into a fake guru if it wasn't for divine intervention. In the Holy Scriptures, it forewarns us of these type of fake gurus. Karatut paso ki manas jata, lok pachara karai din rata, bahar bek antar mal maya, chapas nae kach karai chapaya, bahar gyan diyan yashanana, antar biapai lob suana, antar agan bahar tan swae, gal patar kaisi tarai atae, jake antar basai prabhapa, nanak te jan sahaj samata. Guruji tells us they belong to the human species, but they act like animals. They curse others day and night. Outwardly, they wear religious robes, but within is the filth of Maya. They cannot conceal this, no matter how hard they try. Outwardly, they display knowledge, meditation, and purification, but within clings the dogs of greed. The fire of desire rages within. Outwardly, they apply ashes to their body. There is a stone around their neck. How can they cross the unfathomable ocean? Those within whom God himself abides, O Nanak, those humble beings are intuitively absorbed in the Lord. Guruji is always 10 steps ahead of Maya and already warned us. And without Bhai Sahib-ji, in all honesty, I would be lost like countless others. But he blew the fog of the mind away and showed me the true path. A true spiritual master will help you understand what the divine is, connect you, and help you strengthen your relationship with the divine. They will never, ever try to connect you to themselves. Whereas the fake gurus, they go where the wealth is. They go where the fame and the power of association is. Do you know how many heads that they have to tread over just to get where they are? They leave a whole line of emotional victims in pain, in suffering behind them just to reach the heights that they have. They dress magical. They talk magical. They act magical. They know all about psychology because they spend a lot of time with people. And they pick on those people that are vulnerable. They might not have strong families of their own, be insecure or not fit in with society. They understand the weaknesses of people and exploit them. They learn their desires and play into them. They make promises and drag you along, reeling in the fishing line every time you get close to the bait, just to get you to take one step closer. These people have no fear in the divine. They're preying on people's hopes and emotions. A true saint will say, connect with the Shabd. The fake, they will try to connect you to themselves. A true saint will connect you to the divine, and the fakes will take you away from the divine. This is why the fake gurus are very dangerous. They lost their boundaries. A true spiritual master understands their boundaries. They're fearful of the divine, but these people have no fear, and they begin to think that they are gods themselves. They may read the scriptures, but they interpret in their own way to make it fit their agendas. However, on a long enough timeline, everything that is hidden will come to light. In the Holy Scriptures, it states, Hansa dek karandia baga aya chao, tu muhe bag bapure sir ta upar pao, mai janya vad hansa hai, tan mai kita sanga, jai jana bag bapura, janam na bari anga. Which means, seeing the swans swimming, the cranes became excited. The poor cranes were drowned to death with their heads below the water and their feet sticking out above. I knew him as a great swan, so I associated with him. If I had known he was only a wretched crane, I would never in my life have ever crossed paths with him. You see, the false light tries to mimic the true teachers. The cranes got excited by how beautiful the swans swim. It tries to copy the way they are supposed to speak, the way they behave, the way they look. So on the surface, the eyes and ears can be deceived with what they see and hear. You may see a beautiful swan, but inside there are only wretched cranes. If you saw their true character, you would never cross paths with them or call them your guru. And I only saw these fake gurus break character a handful of times in almost a year of working with them. So they were great actors. But sitting with a true master, it is easy to see through their disguise of lies. And it is so very difficult to find a true teacher in this age of Kali Yuga. But understand that nothing is impossible. For me, the greatest impossibility became possible 3 years ago when Bhai Sahib-ji walked into my life. Finding the right Sangat is critical on this path. When you find that Sangat, stay in that Sangat with love and faith. Because the true master is not interested in your praise, your wealth, or trying to control you. They are there to help fulfill what is in your destiny, to help guide you through the maze of Maya so you come out of this life victorious over the 5 thieves of lust, greed, anger, ego, and attachment. The biggest difficulty in this life is finding the right guide. Many spiritual shops are open for business. However, when the time is right, the right master will walk into your life. Because the master doesn't work from Maya. The master doesn't have to talk, dress, or behave in a certain way to appease the masses' perceptions or desires and accumulate millions of followers. Bhai Sahib Ji told me that just like the fact that you cannot see the air and yet it sustains your life, this is how the divine masters work. They are here to sustain the people that are walking the true path. This is why most people cannot even see a true spiritual master, even if they were in the same room with them. Because the true masters understand how to play the game of love. It is only the false light that needs to dance and parade around with their theatrics and acting skills, trying to steal your attention. The true masters give their hearts out. They give their love unconditionally. They take nothing from anyone, and they respect people for what they are. They understand the Guru. The Shabad vibrates deep within them, and they need for nothing other than to walk the path of love. What you gain from a true teacher is the reflection of the intensity of your own love, and you can't buy that. No true master can be bought with offers of fame or fortune. Only the fake ones can. So when you sit in the Sadh Sangat, the company of the holy, and meditation is there with love and devotion, Maya cannot be present. That's why Guruji says, stay with the Sadh Sangat. When you sit with the master in that moment, your mind will come into perfect poise. You'll feel the warmth, the aura, the protection of the master, and your mind becomes focused on the divine. And after 2 years into working with Bhai Sahib Ji, that book that I had come across, The Path of the Masters, it came back into my field of awareness. I remembered I had never finished the last chapter because I was going step by step through the book, and I had to meet a living master before I proceeded to the final chapter in my mind. And so I ended up reading that final chapter. And I just broke down crying because it was literally everything Bhai Sahib Ji had taught me and was leading me towards. While the book glossed over the subject matter and was obscure about what would actually transpire, they didn't want to ruin the surprise. I knew what they were alluding to because Bhai Sahib Ji led me through it all via direct experience. Not to mention the book was written by a Singh, and prior to that book, I had never come across a single Singh in my entire life, believe it or not. It absolutely shattered my mind in regards to how the divine orchestrates life. All I could do was melt into awe-filled gratitude for the opportunity. And to come full circle on the footnote of all my side quests was that eventually Baji also relayed a story to me how he was confused for a Sufi saint, aka Sufi master, when he was traveling abroad sharing the message to the gurus. Surely the divine works in mysterious ways. Can't even make this stuff up. And look, the relationship with Bhai Sahib Ji was born out of nothing. There's really no explanation for it. I still can't explain why or how it happened even to this day, but it is said that is how the true relationship is born between a student and a teacher. And when such a soul enters into your life, maximize your opportunity. So when Babaji extended his hand, I took it. When Bhai Sahib Ji shared the path with me, I did my God-honest best to walk it as best as I could. Lord knows this path is not easy, but the results of even trying to walk it are worth countless moments of joy, peace, and harmony. And understand that nothing was ever demanded of me while walking with Bhai Sahib Ji. Of my own accord, I made this sacrifice to go through the many trials and tribulations. And no one will ever truly understand what I went through, and no one ever will. That's just between me and the divine. But if you walk this path, you will have a story to tell. And so, in doing so, in taking this step, something truly magical happened. My vision became hyper-focused. I became alert to the games that Maya would play, and I received protection from the worst of Maya's attacks. I was able to begin understanding the teaching of the gurus, and the path started to become clear. Bad actors in my life fell away, and key relationships in my life strengthened. My career opened up to more aligned business opportunities that are more fulfilling while being surrounded by a loving and supportive team. My practice has transformed into joy, and for me, that was big. Understand, I used to do austerities for like 8 hours a day, and now I get to sing the name of the divine. It's a much more easier and graceful sadhana. And no substance influences or controls my heart or my mind. I'm free from all manipulative energies in my life. I've learned what the 5 thieves are, how to identify them within myself and others, and navigate around them so I don't cause more pain and suffering to others. I have learned what the 5 divine virtues are and how difficult it is to embody them, but with the encouragement of Bhai Sahib Ji, I continue to work towards that goal. I've been awakened by the Shabd. I'm the most creative, sharpest, smartest, strongest, kindest, loving, passionate, healthiest version of myself that I have ever been in my entire life. I've had so many divine experiences that are beyond words, just tears streaming in deep gratitude, receiving so much love, so much mercy, seeing how beautiful the divine is. It's just insane. Like, it just, I can't even, you can't even put it into words. Honestly, just crying in awe of the beauty that the divine shares with us. And I've done a lot of crazy things on the path in pursuit of the truth, but honestly, the wildest thing I've ever done is meditate under the guidance of a true spiritual master. It is far more profound than taking hero doses of the deepest plant medicine or substance-induced ceremony. Additionally, my boundaries are strong, my spirit is strong, my blade is sharp, and my heart has been softened. You begin to smell the divine fragrance. It becomes that which attracts you instead of old temptations and bad habits. I no longer think, act, or behave how I used to. There's been a change within myself to better myself and for everyone around me, as the thoughts that enter into my mind are more aligned with the teachings of the masters. And the 5 thieves, while they haven't been 100% eliminated, there's been a significant reduction and a shift inside that signifies a permanent change that prevents me from falling back into the old me, into the old river. And Bhai Sahib Ji likes to remind me that the 5 thieves do not ever fully go away until you actually merge into the divine. And so the journey is long, very long, but it's worth it. As all of my affairs have been resolved, earlier this year I thought to myself, wow, I'm at peace with it all. For the first time in 38 years, what is this feeling that's coming over me right now? It is peace. Okay, I am at peace. I honestly had forgotten what the feeling of being at peace was. It's absolutely insane what this world and Maya will do to you if you let go of the hand of the divine. But now I can exhale and rest within the divine, knowing I am loved and taken care of. That, my friends, is priceless. No amount of money could repay what Guruji, Babaji, and Bhai Sahib Ji and the Khalsa have done for me. You can't buy that. All I can say is thank you, God. Thank you. Thank you. And I do not share this to speak about how great I am or what little I have accomplished on this path. Because honestly, this is just the first step. I only share so you can understand what the results of working with a true master are and how you should hold the teachers in your life accountable for how they are molding your consciousness. If they are not getting you results like this, and you are not permanently becoming a more peaceful and loving person, then you should reflect on where you're getting your teachings from. But unfortunately, we fall for the shiny objects, the catchy taglines, and the fancy marketing. And many people fall into that illusion. Actually, it's quite normal to fall into that illusion. I surely did. Because they know how to cast their spell and enchant you, how to entice you with exciting offers that your heart longs for. But the fake teachers leave you in a deeper mess than what you originally walked in with. You lose time, you lose energy, and you lose money while gaining more of a spiritual ego. It's a lose, lose, lose situation for those that fall into the trap of the immense greed of these false teachers. The true teacher is not interested in your money, but there to help you reset your thoughts, align you to the Shabad, and be there for you as a guiding light amidst the darkness of ignorance. These days, there are too many fake gurus. You can remove one guru and 10 others will turn up because they see the opportunity. They see the followers, the money, the power, and the fame. And this is nothing new, as even during the times of the 9th Guru, Guru Tegh Bahadur Dev Ji, over 22 other fake gurus set up to claim that they were him. This has been going on for a very long time. This path was supposed to be about the emancipation of the soul, to return to the divine, but unfortunately people have twisted it around to serve themselves while robbing your soul's dream. Bhai Sahib Ji told me that we were born with a dream, like when a child is born in a family. The father has a dream for his child. I want my child to be educated. I want him to do well in life, the father says. And so when we were born, the divine had this dream for us too, but we got caught up in Maya, lost the way, and forgot this dream. We lost ourselves going from one relationship to another, from one substance abuse to another, from one teacher to another, getting entangled deeper and deeper into the illusion. This is why we need to associate ourselves with those masters that help us achieve the dream that the divine had for us. And only by great good fortune, a true master will come into your life and help you remember and help you achieve it. And see, Guruji understands that Maya is dense, and that without the pious, it is easy to fall into the quicksand of Maya. Countless spiritualists have reincarnated and come back to earth and forgot their purpose. Bhai Sahib Ji told me this. That the fake teachers and the fake gurus have also forgotten their purpose. That they became so full of ego that they have turned their back on the true teachings to attempt to become gods themselves. And so when the teacher says, you don't need the holy scriptures, Be aware, because that is a great recipe for spiritual downfall. You say they forgot who put them there, and their arrogance begins to rear its ugly head. Their ego roars, and they forget the power of the divine, and they become blind to the fame and fortune that surrounds them. Understand, there is no chance for them, and no chance for their followers. This is why Guru Gobind Singh Ji, the 10th master, his instructions given to him by the divine were clear. Go and prepare that panth that will lead the people back to the truth. I have sent many, but they have all forgotten their purpose. They became self-serving gods. You go and prepare that panth that will be in service of the divine. Thus Guruji proclaimed to all, whoever so calls me God will fall into the pits of hell. You see, the 10th Guru never forgot his purpose, and he wrote it down so everyone could remember the true path. These false light teachers, they call themselves divine, but they are not divine. They're shaitans. They're taking you away. They're earning your money under the divine name, sharing incredible outlandish stories, and they're taking your time and manipulating your emotions. They're dancing and prancing around on social media and say, you don't need to read your scriptures. It is hypocrisy of the highest order. This is why finding someone with clarity in the midst of the darkness of Maya, someone who is rooted in the truth, who understands their position in the grand scheme of things, someone who understands their purpose, their mission, someone who isn't interested in your following or your money, finding that blessed soul is critical on the path. And in the Holy Scriptures, it says, Jivan Mukita Risardai Bhagavanta Dana 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 Jan Aya Jis Prasad Sab Jagatarya Jan Avanka Ihe Swau Janke Chit Ave Now Apamukata Mukata Karai Sansara Nanak Tis Janko Sara Namaskara. He is Jivan Mukta, liberated whilst yet alive. The Lord God abides in his heart. Blessed, blessed, blessed is the coming of that humble being. By his grace, the whole world is saved. This is his purpose in life. In the company of the humble servant, the Lord's name comes to mind. He himself is liberated, and he liberates the universe. O Nanak, to that humble servant I bow in reverence forever. The true purpose of a spiritual master is to serve. The true spiritualist understands that becoming a master is the beginning of the path of being a servant of the Lord. The master's purpose is to connect you to the divine, but rare is it to find such a soul these days. Sangat Ji, our time is precious here on earth. Please don't waste your time. You have this one life in which you can remember, so don't waste it. Pray to meet the living master, stay with the Shab, and always remember the one divine. And in closing this last Shabad, Hradai Jin Kai, Kapat Vasai Barao, Sant Kai, Terasana Mul Nachkai, Antke, Pachutai, Anek Tira Che Jatan Karai, Ta Antar Ki Huame Kadai Na Jai, Jis Naraki, Dubeda, Na Jai Dharam Rai, Tis De Sajai, Karam Hove, Soy Jan Pai, Gurmaka Bujai, Koi, Nanak Vichao, Huame, Mare Tan Har Betai Soy. And it says, those whose hearts are filled with hypocrisy, who are called saints only for their outward show. Their desires are never satisfied, and they depart grieving in the end. Although one may bathe at many places of pilgrimage, still his ego never departs. That man whose sense of duality does not depart, the righteous judge of Dharma shall punish him. That humble being unto whom God showers his mercy obtains him. How few are the Gurmukhs who understand him. O Nanak, if one conquers his ego within, then he comes to meet the Lord. Sangat Ji, conquer your mind and meet your divine. Om peace, Sangat Ji. Infinite blessings. Waheguru Ji Khalsa, Waheguru Ji Fateh.